And I
Yeah.
know Deryck specifically doing a lot of training encounters merchants that would like to do things. And Deryck, I know that you've even had experience around, uh, say Page Builder and how Page Builder will handle a lot of those development tasks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, I mean, again, kind of like a case that came up, fairly recently, where Page Builder is is a great product that was added as Magento, big fanfare. In fact, there was a lot of pent up, excitement about Page Builder coming out, and there it is. But and from a admin practical point of view, it's great. But if that's not tied up properly with your front end developer, actually executing it in the right way or understanding what it is that the merchant wants, then actually it's causing a whole load of different headaches. So, if there's design issues that you've got in you're doing something in the back end of Page Builder in the admin, and it's not being reflected on the front end, then you need your front end developer to understand that you want a fix for that. You want that, you need that built into your design. So yeah, there's all sorts of, this is why merchants and developers, it's so key that they do have that dialogue that's going on, and they both need to understand each other to a certain extent. It's no good the merchant just expecting the developer to have a complete understanding of what it is they want, and vice versa. There needs to be that dialogue going on, that somewhere in the middle. That was the whole point of solution specialists as well, actually, back when that was what solution specialists are called. Now they're Magento commerce business practitioners, is to have that communication between the two. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the key there is that the developers understand when something should be done in, let's say, Page Builder, and they shouldn't be recreating something in CSS or making special templates that have to be pushed to a server. And in the same sense that merchants need to understand what they should be doing, and maybe that some of the things that they could be doing in terms of design can be done directly in Page Builder, and they don't need the help of a developer. And in this case, the conversation came up around adding a third-party CMS system. And the fact is that even if you do add a third-party CMS, that system is still going to have to work within the limits of whatever Magento can do. And if you have a specific design item that doesn't fit that other system, that somebody's still going to have to build out that design. So why not just use Page Builder?
Yeah, yeah, and what you're saying there about the CSS and those kind of fixes. So what you might end up having is a merchant saying, well, this isn't lined up properly, and for example, there's a button not lined up properly, and every time that button's placed, it's not lined up properly. And so you may end up getting a quick fix put in place that fixes that problem, and it's a bit of CSS. But the next time, or there might be a slightly different scenario where that button needs to be put in, and it's still not lined up properly. And the quick fix is the quickest way of sorting that problem out. But in the long term, it's still going to cause frustration for the merchant. So so where the merchant needs to understand is that the quick fix will get it fixed for now. But what they want is the proper fix, which is going to take more time, but it means in the future that problem is less likely to occur again.
Yeah, and I think, I'm sure what you've learned in doing training for the last 10 years is that there is a gap in terms of Magento and how the content is delivered to merchants and what the merchant should expect. So this Magento Commerce Business Practitioner specialization that you can get from Adobe, which was the Magento Solution Specialist, is meant to kind of bridge that gap. So you should so this Magento Commerce Business Practitioner, I'm going to keep saying that over and over again so I remember it. They should understand when something can be done in Magento and when you do need the help of a front-end developer to get those things done. And that I believe that role is often overlooked at the agency level.
Yeah.
And that oftentimes, even at the developer level, so if you're a single developer working on a project, there are a lot of things that can be done in admin that maybe is overlooked because a front end developer always does something a certain way. And it's really good to kind of loop back and take a look at what is being done in your front end and your
Hmm.
admin and assessing how those are being done.
I think there's a couple of things that come up there, you know, that in my experience that comes up quite often. One uh, and that is the front end developer maybe underestimates the skill of the or the potential skill of the client. So they assume that there's no technical knowledge. So, you know, asking them to be able to put some content in and place it within Page Builder, or whatever it is a bridge too far for them because they're not technical at all. And that's not the case. They're not fully they're not, you know, developers, but that doesn't mean that they can't format stuff. And on the other side as well, I think that quite often there's a knowledge gap on the developer, which is what you're capable of doing within the back end and within the admin. And sometimes that is, you know, overlooked, because you will often get developers who've got their developer certifications, but the developer certification doesn't really require you to have a massive knowledge of the actual product itself. It just, you need to understand how the code is structured and how, you know, how you access certain points and you know, and things that developers need to know, but it's not about necessarily about the functionality. And so often there's that knowledge gap there as well, which is, you know, well, the merchant knows the functionality, the developer knows how to develop it, but there's this big gap in the middle, and that's bridging that gap constantly is part of the challenge.
Yeah, and I think to be honest or transparent, Page Builder is still relatively new in
Yeah.
the scope of what Magento is doing, and people aren't used to having a tool like this. And in the same sense, the tool is new, so there's a lot of things that can be improved on. And we are seeing improvements every single release of Magento.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely a you know, the you know, the idea that it's a WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get product is not, again, not necessarily true, which was true of, you know, many content management systems actually, which is, you know, what you do in the back end is not exactly what you're going to see on the front end. So that in itself can sometimes, you know, cause some issues, and also as well, you know, a lot of people are, you know, a lot of methodologies is mobile first, and Page Builder isn't mobile first, or certainly when you're designing in the back end, it isn't mobile first. So you're looking at the desktop version of what your page will look like. The only way you can really test that to see what it looked like on mobile is to actually load it up and go onto the front end, and then look at it as if you were looking on a mobile. So yeah, there's still, I know some of these things are in the pipeline on the roadmap, still lots of improvements, but like you say, it's I mean, it was always a massive leap forward from what was there before, which was, you know, for the age we were in, or the age we are in, was woefully kind of inadequate for what merchants needed, and Page Builder, you know, gets there, gets nearly there. You know, we're
Yeah.
still got its quirks, but tell me something in Magento that doesn't have a quirk, and I'll I'll tell you. You know, it's a complex piece of software. There's lots of quirks. It's part of its charm.
Deryck, as a Magento master, Magento is perfect and there's no shortcomings in it. And everybody should use it all the time.
Did you have to sign that? Did you to get?
Yeah, you know, and I think the idea of Page Builder is to bridge that gap that a lot of other platforms now are, let's use the word encroaching, like they're encroaching on some of the territory in terms of CMS that Magento has always been weak on. So having the ability to do a lot of these drop and drag and WYSIWYG functions are really important. So, and we are going to see, like I said, we're going to see continued improvements on Page Builder. We're going to see a lot of improvements on how Page Builder interacts with PWA Studio. And I think that's really going to differentiate uh, Adobe and other platforms in terms of headless.
Yeah.
If we can directly manipulate content inside of Magento admin and then it works well inside of a PWA, that is really going to be a great feature that works well for a lot of clients.
Yeah, yeah, and actually, and one thing I'd say, when I have trained on Page Builder as part of it's a subset of some of the courses that we deliver. You show them the features, show people the features if they've never used it before, and you can show them building a dynamic page out within a couple of minutes. They can have a what looks like a fantastic front page with, if they want carousels or scrolling banners, they can. If they want to have a subset of products on there that they're trying to promote at that time, they can. And it's great how quickly you can just drag and drop that in and off you're running with the page. So it's got its foibles, but it's a great product, and I stand by it as a product. I just it's just managing that expectation and that understanding from what the merchant can do and what they need to communicate with the developer if they're doing anything that's maybe kind of outside of the standard kind of templates and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I know we didn't mean to make this the Page Builder hour, but it seems like
No, we didn't, did we?
yeah. So it does lend to the importance of that, and to continue down that road, merchants should be looking at using Page Builder on their category landing pages, on their product pages, and all their static or dynamic blocks. There's so much that you can be doing. And going back to the Magento Commerce Business Practitioner, which I believe both of us are, that we should have an understanding of where those pieces should go in. And I think the really important part for merchants to understand is how you can use that to better your site and self-manage your site. So I think that as an agency, we always want our clients to be able to take that site and go with it on their own. So they're not dependent on a developer to have to do something. And the reality of Magento now is that when you have to build something and then develop it, it has to be QA'd, it has to be UAT'd, it has to be pushed to a live environment. And that is a lot of steps. And nothing like that happens in maybe it takes 5 minutes to actually do that CSS change, but then that CSS change has to go through that whole continuous integration pipeline, all the way to the point of getting deployed to a live server, and that could take a couple of days. So
yeah, sometimes where I see that done though is you can actually within the page builder component, you can from the admin, you can put some custom CSS in there, and it's just there's an actual a field to put in your custom CSS, so you end up getting the developer going, I'll just stick it in there, because they don't so they don't tell the client that, so the client then tries to recreate that somewhere else, and it's completely different, and they think they've done it exactly the same, and then go back to the developer and say, oh no, you need to put this CSS in. It's like, well, they're not going to know that. that's
right.
So that's the sort of thing the sort of anomalies that you can get on that. Yeah.
Right. All right. So I think we've talked about Page Builder a lot, and maybe we just have another 1 hour episode just on Page Builder in the future.